Hi everyone, this is Shani-Lifrak with KSL Collective and Keller Williams on the Water, and today with me again, my semi-special guest, Shani-Lifrak with Lift Up Consulting. So we're actually in New York City today, and
you can see the tower.
oh yeah, the World Trade Center.
Right there.
Yeah, right there behind us. It's so little from here.
Yeah, it is.
So as I'm looking around, I'm trying to think, what are we going to talk about today, real estate wise? And I'm looking at the tapestry of buildings behind me, the new, the old, and then I'm thinking about a conversation I had with a client of mine just a couple of days ago, who was asking, you know, that it's a seller's market. We want to sell our place, but we've had it in the family for a long time. It needs a lot of repair and updating. You know, are we better off repairing it and spending the money? Are we going to get more return on our investment this way, or shall we just sell it as is for, you know, for a lower price? So
it's a dilemma, right? It's something that people have to deal with every time they sell.
Exactly, and that's very valid, you know. And you know, I think from a monetary standpoint, I always tell people, I think the best way is give me a call, and we really need to evaluate. I've you know, rehabbed quite a few houses in my career, and I think the best thing would be to see each property as its own entity, and to look at, you know, what does it take, what are the costs, what are the expenses, and to see if it's which way you know it's worth it more.
You know, which way makes more sense.
It makes more sense. Thank you.
Exactly. It's really interesting. That is a great point that you made, that, like, you know, each property is its own special entity. Like,
yeah.
so there are a lot of things that in real estate that, you know, are pretty structured, I guess, but like, honestly, when it comes down to it, it sounds like each and every property is its own unique.
Yeah, and
thing.
Sometimes you might have an old feature, but that is really desirable, right, and is worth a lot of money, and you don't want to eliminate it, just sort of like give it a facelift. And other times you may have stuff that is even newer, but doesn't look so good, or doesn't make sense in the space in a way that, you know, brings value. So it really depends on the property. But Josh, I want to talk to you about a different component.
Okay.
So with, you know, being that most people don't do this for a living, right? And when you're looking at doing extensive repairs, or, you know, semi-extensive repairs to your home, that can be stressful for some people. It's not
Absolutely.
For everyone. It's definitely a journey. It's definitely going to have some, you have to put in your time and energy and thought, and, you know, so give us some tips on, if you've never done this before, you know.
Yeah, I think the big thing. I think the big thing that you're kind of talking about is really like return on investment in terms of stress and emotional well-being, right? I mean, I think that's kind of what you're saying. I think one thing that people don't realize is that we only have so much of an emotional reservoir before the stress kind of takes over, and then it's almost not worth it. So that's what you kind of have to analyze, as well as the money. Also, the kind of the stress component. Is it going to be worthwhile, you know, doing the investment to do the repairs before I sell? Or, you know, and also too, a lot of people have emotional attachments to homes. Maybe this was a parent's home that, you know, maybe they passed away, or it was a child at home or something like that. And so there is that emotional component to it too. And so I think you just have to kind of take that all into account, and you really just gotta kind of take stock of where you are. And then finally, the last part I would say is I always talk about this with decision making. People stress, am I making the right decision? Am I making the wrong decision? They always do that. And my answer to them is always like, you're always going to make the right decision if you make the decision right. In other words, I make a decision, and the only way the decision is really, really wrong is if I sit there and I should have, I could have, I would have. Right? You can learn from any decision you make, but ultimately, the decision is going to be right if you choose to make it right.
Right. And in terms of stress, like how to manage that. Let's say, okay, I'm doing this, I've never done this before, I've decided to take that route. Give us a couple of tips on how to manage that stress, and like being sort of like in uncharted territories, or like the unknown of like, how is this going to go?
Yeah.
And the process of it.
No problem. So anytime you go into the unknown, having somebody that knows what they're doing is really, really helpful. So certainly having a great realtor and having somebody that can guide you through the process is going to be huge. Number two, recognizing that it's an adventure, it's a journey. Like, if you can kind of reframe it like that versus like, I have to do it a certain way, or it has to be perfect or anything like that. As soon as you start getting into those have-tos, that's when the stress really comes in. So for me, it's about getting to do stuff. And then also having somebody, like I said, like Karen, who's an expert in the field, helping you out.
And I think visualizing might help, right? Like kind of
absolutely.
seeing yourself kind of, a lot of times it helps me when I'm dealing with stress. Like I see myself showing it finally when it's the finished product, and then seeing the buyers walking in and going, oh my God, this is our dream home, and like the smile on their faces, and seeing how it's all worth it at the end. And from, for a seller, from a monetary standpoint, kind of seeing yourself, walking to the bank with your check in hand, that might help, kind of remembering sort of like, how do they say, keep the eyes on the prize?
Yeah, keep the eyes on the prize and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, I think that sums it pretty well.
That's good.
Okay, good stuff.
Good
Thanks.
stuff, honey.
All right, have a good one.
Have a great one.